Frank Nazar doing?
I would say still kind of day to day. I don't have I don't anticipate him for tomorrow.
Okay.
For Saturday, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Upper, lower body?
Mid.
With Connor, he's always been a confident kid, but how much more confidence you've seen out of him maybe even these last bunch of games with the point streak, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, he's, you don't get to the level of player he is without confidence, but to say that people's confidence don't ebb and flow, that's just not reality of life. And I think, I think when it's going good, it's going good. And I think the good thing about Connor is when it doesn't. When the production isn't quite there, and I'll say this for the beginning of the year, I thought he was playing just as good at the beginning of the year and wasn't getting rewarded maybe with some of the production. And now the production's there. Certainly the power play's been hot, and he's getting rewarded with it. But I don't think his game has necessarily, I think it's continued to improve, but it hasn't been like, they were really different players from one section to the next. So, but his, he's like you said, he believes himself, and that kind of can work you through some of those moments where you're playing well, but your production's not there.
What about Dickinson? Do you have an update?
I don't anticipate him for tomorrow. It's Saturday still, not sure.
How impressive is it when a young guy like Ryan Greene can seemingly move up and down the lineup depending on role and not really miss a beat?
Yeah, he's a pretty he's got a decent amount of things in his toolbox in terms of he's smart. He's got a good enough skill to play with good players. I think his smarts offensively and defensively, he's pretty naturally a fairly good defensive player. So that's allowed him with opportunity too, and allowed him to have kind of success in those different spots. I thought, they got thrust into, without Dickinson, you lose a real penalty killer, and then Frankie was out, so then Greener got way more opportunity even on the penalty kill. I thought he did a good job. So I think it's really important for players to be able to fill as many of those spots as possible, and he can do that.
Do you expect a point where you evolve out of 11-7, or do you think that's something that's consistent throughout the season?
I honestly haven't really thought that through. Like where I'm like, there's not a grand plan to at some point change it. I know it helps our team. I think right now the best. I think it's the best makeup of deploying our players, and so like from that aspect, we'll have 11-7 tomorrow. And is there some point where it makes more sense? This isn't a thing where I think 11-7 is better than 12-6. I think it really depends on your exact situation and where your team's at. And for our team, I think it still makes the most sense to go 11-7. And at some point, if I change my mind on that, then we'll switch.
Coming off a successful road trip, now having 8 of 9 at home, just what opportunity does that present to keep things rolling?
Well, it's generally it's harder to win on the road. Not always, but it generally is that way. It's so you want to take advantage of your home games, and certainly a homestand like this, you'd like to take advantage. But I think the good thing about this group is we haven't got too far ahead of ourselves. We'll play tomorrow's game and then learn from that game, and that's kind of the approach we've taken. So we're not probably thinking of it from a hockey standpoint. I think it's nice for guys to be home after being gone for a long time, but from a hockey standpoint, we're not really think of it as a long homestand as much as really honestly the next game. And that can sound like coach speak, but that's reality, and I think our team's done a really good job with that.
Bedard said before you guys flew on the road trip that he said it would be a bonding experience between the team. Is there anything new you learned about your team over those 6 road games?
Well, I knew that on day, how many days was it? It was 12. I knew on day 11, I said to our staff, it's awesome that I don't hate you guys yet, you don't hate me yet. So that part's, we got a good group in the staff part of it. I would just say, I think when there's just different opportunities to bond, and some of them are on the road, and some of them are probably at home, and some of them are at team gatherings, and some of them are, through struggle, like training camp. Some of them are when you got to fight for each other, like Calgary. So, like, those are all different opportunities to bond.
Why do you think Tyler Bertuzzi thrives playing under you so much?
I can't answer that. I know that I think Tyler's a really, really good player, and he's a winner, and I want him on my team all day, every day, any team that I'd coach. So, Does that give him more confidence? I can't answer that for sure. I just know that how I feel about him as a player, and I've always felt that from the day I coached him in Grand Rapids when he was coming out of junior hockey. He's just a winning hockey player that does a lot of little things that sometimes is more noticeable maybe from the bench than it is from 200 feet or 200 levels. So he's a winning player that I'm glad's on our team.
You were mic'd up early in the season addressing the team after Foligno had gotten in a fight, and you said, great, but it can't be him every night. How encouraged have you been to see some of these young guys who, it's out of their comfort zone to stick up for, or to bring that physicality to the table, to accept the challenge?
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think when you do that, it gives you a little more swagger. I really believe that. My 15-year-old has been in boxing since he's 10 years old or 9 years old, maybe, because he wanted to do it, and I felt like it was a great thing for him to learn to take a punch, and it's not that bad, and you can kind of keep moving, and I think it gives you a confidence and a swagger and an ability to kind of handle pressure situations. I think all those things are good. So, for our guys that maybe it's been out of their comfort zone, I just think it means two things. One, it means that our guys really like each other and they want to play hard for each other. And I think, that's one of the ways to sacrifice for each other. And two, guys are getting comfortable in those situations, and I think that's good. I think it can help give them individual swagger a little bit.